Tilly True, Tilly True by Dilly Court. I ain't always going to be poor. I made me mind up to that. Okay. Dismissed from her position as housemaid under a cloud of misunderstanding, Tilly True is forced to return home. But Tilly is determined to make something of her life and, rather than admit the truth to her poverty stricken family, she sets out once more in search of employment for her. Her journey takes her to the London law courts, a grim parsonage in one of the most notorious parts of the East End, and a house of ill repute. But when she falls for the dangerous charms of Barnaby Palgrave, Tilly soon finds that her troubles have only just begun. Okay, let's get on to chapter 1 then. Tilly. Chapter 1. A pattern of lozenges and stars hurtled towards Tilly's eyes as the red, blue, and white tiled floor of the Blessed's entrance hall came up to hit her. With a sickening thud that knocked the wind from her lungs, she fell to the ground beneath a hail of blows. Shielding her face against the savage beating from the riding crop, Tilly rolled across the floor and scrambled to her feet. "You stole my garnet brooch, you wicked little trollop. Admit it." Martha Blessed's pinpoint eyes disappeared into the folds of her florid cheeks, and her prune wrinkled lips formed a tight circle. "Sly little bitch." Swishing the crop, she advanced on Tilly, her tightly corseted flesh vibrating with each thundering step. Rivulets of blood trickling down her face brought Tilly back to her senses. Springing forward, she grabbed the offending weapon, wrenching it from her employer's hand. "I never stole from you." What's her accent? I don't know the English accent. Inne. I never stole from you. From you. Breaking the crop across her knee, she flung it to the ground. "And I ain't standing for being whipped for something what I never done." Alright. I mean, where's the proof? That's all you gotta ask, right? Innocent until proven guilty. Morris, come here quick." Martha's refined accent, I don't know what Martha's accent is. Refined accent slipped into broad Cockney, and the lustres on the wall scones shivered and tinkled as her voice rose to a glass-shattering pitch. "Morris, run and fetch a constable. I'll have you put away, Tilly True. A few years in Brixton will sort you out, lady." Morris poked her head. Morris is a girl's name, woman's name. Morris poked her head around the door that led down to the basement kitchen. Her needle-sharp features pinched and sour. "What's up, missus?" Spinning round, Martha scowled at her cook general. "Never mind what's up. And I've told you a million times it's madam, not missus. We're in Islington now, Morris, not bleeding Plato." It's not Plaistow, right? Plato. What's she done this time then, madam? Not budging an inch, Morris stood, arms akimbo, staring curiously at Tilly. "I ain't done nothing, you sour-faced old saw. Tilly backed towards the front door, dragging back the heavy chenille portiere. I don't know. How am I supposed to Google it? The cameras. I don't have another phone. "And I ain't staying here another minute. She took my garnet brooch, what Mr. Blessed bought me to celebrate the opening of the Emporium. He paid all of 10 and 6 for it down Spitalfields Market. And she's broke my riding crop." You were hitting her with it. What the hell? Martha आंटी पागल हो गई, बिना प्रूफ के बोल रही है, फटका पड़ना चाहिए. Martha clutched her bosom that defied gravity, uh, ju- jutting over the top of her stays in an impressive ledge. I'm having palpitations. Fetch the sal volatile. Volatile. Well, which is it? Demanding Morris, still not budging. Call the constable or smelling salts. And anyway, that crop weren't no use. You ain't got a horse, not even a pony, nor even had one. Or maybe two, if you ask me. Okay, Morris. Wrenching the door open, Tilly shivered as a sleet spiked gust of wind slapped her in the. Everything's fucking hitting her. What? Slapped her in the face, it seems. It's a gust of wind. She wasn't going to spend another second in this hateful place, but she was going to have the last word. Okay. You're a jumped up old hayback. It wasn't so long ago that your old man was peddling taters from his barrow. Is that good? Is that a good burn? I don't know. Don't let her get away, Morris. Martha staggered crabwise across the hall. Staggered crabwise across the hall. I don't understand. My poor heart it's racing 19 to the dozen. Fetch a doctor. 19 to the dozen. 19 to the 12. To the dozen. I don't know. So 19 instead of 12, like 12 being the norm. So Morris threw up her hands. Make your mind up, missus. It's mad at Morris. First it was a copper, then the smelling salts, and now it's the doctor. What's it to be? Throwing herself down on a hall chair that creaked and groaned beneath her weight, Martha pointed a shaking finger at Tilly. You wait until I tell Mr. Blessed what you've done. You want to watch your old man? He's got more hands than an octopus. Poised for flight, Tilly tossed her head. Oh, you want to watch your old man? He's got more hands than an octopus. He's cheating on her? I don't understand. Poised for flight, Tilly tossed her head. Anyway, I wouldn't touch your rotten garnets. They're probably just glass, not worth more than tuppence. Who knows what tuppence is? I don't know. Probably she means it's cheap. With a roar that made the glass shades on the gaslights tinkle, Martha launched her body off the chair, lunging at the open door, but Tilly was too quick. She jumped the remaining 3 stone steps and hit the pavement running. Barbary Terrace marched along. Barbary Terrace. Marched along the north bank of the Regent's Canal, flanked by a regiment of red brick 4-story houses. Okay. The upwardly mobile Blesseds had moved here when Mr. Blessed swapped his fruit and vegetable barrow in Plato for a second-hand furniture emporium in Wharf Road, Islington. Tilly had been pleased enough to get a job as housemaid until she realized that Martha Blessed was a snobbish, self-indulgent tyrant, and her husband, outwardly meek and mild-mannered, had an eye for a pretty young face as well as wandering hands. Yeah. Now, to her cost, Tilly had soon discovered that Stanley Blessed's long subjugated carnal desires made it impossible for him to pass her in the narrow corridors of the house without fondling or groping some part of her anatomy. Sad. Really bad. Reaching the bridge that crossed the canal where St. Peter's Street ended and Wharf Road began, Tilly stopped to catch her breath. It was only then that she felt the cold striking through her flesh and gnawing at the marrow of her bones. The sleety rain had soaked her cotton blouse within seconds, and her long skirts clung damply to her bare legs. In her heightened state of emotion and anger, Tilly had not felt the pain from the welts and bruises on her back until this moment. Her teeth were chattering, and she was shaking all over from delayed reaction and shock. Leaning over the parapet, she took deep breaths, but the wintry January air was contaminated with chemicals spewing from the manufactories. Manufactories? Huh. Coal tar, smoke, and flour dust from the mills alongside the canal. Barely moving, the tobacco brown water was streaked blue with indigo dye and crusted with wood chips from timber piled high on the wharves, waited to be, waiting to be transported by horse and cart to the mills and cabinet makers' workshops. The polyglot crowds, what is polyglot? The polyglot crowds scurrying past her did not seem to notice her, even though her blouse was blood-stained and torn and she was coatless on a bitter winter day. Tilly's ears were filled with the din of horses' hooves, the rumble of cartwheels, the clanking of great cranes loading and unloading barges, and the babble of voices speaking in many different languages. Gathering her wits, she knew she must make a move or else end up frozen to the stonework. Yet another cadaver to be flung into a pauper's grave in the nearest necropolis. What? Yet another cadaver to be flung into a pauper's grave in the nearest necropolis. Like death. Sudden death on the mean streets of London's East End was an everyday occurrence, whether from murder, misadventure, or sheer poverty. Misadventure. Feral misadventure? They're not skydiving or anything. Misadventure. Car accident? Like it's horse. What? What kind of misadventures? Feral children scavenged alongside feral cats and dogs, vying for scraps with tramps and drunks. Shop doorways offered a minimum amount of shelter to the crawlers, destitute people, mostly women, who were old, sick, or merely unwanted, and were so weak that they were unable to walk, subsisting on handouts and dying unmourned. That's a bad way to go. Tilly had no illusions about life. Survival meant using your brains or your fists. Yeah. She was in trouble and would be in even worse straits if old Ma Blessed had called the constable and the coppers were out looking for a thieving servant girl. The irony was that she had not stolen the wretched brooch. It wasn't worth stealing anyway. Tilly was pretty certain that the blood-colored gems were red glass and the old man Blessed had once again cheated on his wife. Alright. The sleet had hardened into hailstones and Tilly knew that she must keep moving or freeze to death. There was only one place that she could go now, and that was home to Ma in Red Dragon Passage, Whitechapel. Okay. She might not be best pleased to hear that Tilly had lost her job, but Ma would be on her side and she would make it right with Pops when he staggered in late at night, exhausted from working long hours as a lighter man on the river. Lighter man. Home, home. The mantra repeated again and again in her brain. She must get home, even though it was a fair step to Whitechapel. Tilly broke into a jogging run, her numbed feet skidding on the tiny pearls of sleet that turned the pavements into a slippery skating rink. But as the crowds grew denser, she was forced to slow down, picking her way through piles of rotting vegetable matter tossed from costermongers' barrows, stepping over the messes left by mange-ridden mongrel curs, what is this? And weaving in and out of people intent on going about their own business. Tilly kept going until she reached City Road. By this time, her clothes were steaming and the feeling had come back to her feet. The only trouble was that her chilblains were burning like fire and the wheels on her back had begun to itch and sting. Okay. City Road was a maelstrom of horse-drawn vehicles, handcarts and barrows. A pedestrian could have crossed the street, leaping from cart to cab to omnibus without their feet ever touching the ground. Okay. Jackie Chan style. Yeah. A short way along, Tilly found her way barred by a crowd that had gathered around two carts that had collided. Two carts that had collided. They were going at such speeds? Oh, okay. Collided and, with their wheels locked, were blocking the carriageway. The driver of the cart, heading in the direction of Pentonville, was standing in the footwell, hurling abuse at the other carter. Are you blind as well as bleeding stupid, Bert Tuffin? That old nag of yours is only fit for the glue factory. Stupid old bugger, call yourself a carter? Shut your trap or you'll be next. Tuffin leapt off the driver's seat, grabbing the horse's bridle. Cursing and swearing, he raised the whip, bringing it down on the terrified animal's back. Alright, I'll teach you manners, you brute. But his vicious action only made things worse, and the horse reared in the shafts, rolling its eyes in terror and lashing out with its hoofs. This seemed to infuriate Tuffin even more, and he brought the whip down hard across the animal's flank. Enjoying themselves as if they were at a dog fight or bear baiting, the crowd started whistling, catcalling, and shouting useless advice, as is usual. Infuriated by the cruelty to the poor horse and with the pain of a similar beating still uppermost in her mind, Tilly elbowed her way to the front and, leaping forward, made a grab for the whip. Tuffin rounded on her, his nostrils flaring and his mouth opened in an angry roar. But bad decision, bad call. Just stay out of it, honestly. I mean, are you physically capable to overpower that man? Are you? I mean, he's angry right now. He's not in his correct mind either. Like, things might go well for you, I don't know, but honestly, it's a bad decision. Shouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that if I were in my shoes. Definitely not. Okay. Rounded on her, his nostrils flaring and his mouth opened in an angry roar. A film of red mist came down over Tilly's eyes, and she saw Martha Blessed about to bring the crop down on her own thin shoulders. You're a bloody bully, Tilly shouted, tugging at the whip. Can't you see you're making it worse? Get out of my way, you stupid little tart. For a moment, they tussled for possession of the whip, but Tilly was much the smaller and lighter, and she was losing. Yeah, I know. Using her last ounce of strength to tug on the whip and kicking Tuffin hard on the shins, she gave him a shove, catching him off balance, sending him sprawling onto a pile of horse dung that the road sweeper had just deposited in the gutter. Lucky, lucky. The crowd hooted and howled with laughter, clapping and roaring their approval. Taking the reins, Tilly stroked the horse's soft muzzle, whispering comforting words in its ear, but Tuffin clambered to his feet and grabbed her by the scruff of the neck. Now who's gonna save her? Let's see. She could see his fist raised above her head, but she held on to the terrified horse. Hit me then, you bastard, she cried, closing her eyes and waiting for the blow to fall. But don't you dare to lay a finger on this poor old nag. Okay. Why be a hero? Why? Why? Okay. If he ends up killing you, sure, he'll go to jail, he'll go to prison, whatever. But you are dead though. Why would you choose to die? Why? Oh, I saved the horse and put your own life in danger. Let someone else handle it, honestly. Sure, why are you asking her to stop animal abuse, like, yeah, like she did a good thing and all this, but she was not in a position to do that. Uh, she got lucky, that's it. Caught him off balance, pushed him, shoved him, whatever, but shouldn't have done that still. Not at your, like, not at the cost of your own life. Definitely not. What was I? Okay, someone saying, I wouldn't do that if I were you, my man. Opening her eyes till he saw a tall gentleman, dressed all in grey, wearing a clerical collar. Someone came to save her, finally. The crowd parted in respectful silence as he made his way to the edge of the curb. She's the one out of order, Governor? Tuffin protested, dragging off his cloth cap. Turning to the onlookers, he held out his hands. You all saw her go for me, didn't you? Didn't you? Didn't you? Sorry. Didn't you? For God's sake, cut the cackle and move your bleeding cart, shouted the other driver. I ain't got all day, mate. I ain't got all day, mate. I ain't got. You should do as he says and think yourself lucky that I don't call constable. I could have you up before the magistrate for ill-treating this poor animal and attacking this young woman who was only doing her Christian duty. Which is stupid. Turning his back on Bert Tuffin, who seemed to have lost the power of speech, although his mouth was working silently, the clergyman stared at Tilly, his pale grey eyes filled with concern. Are you all right, my dear? He held out his hand smiling. Francis Palgrave. And you are? Ooh. Francis. Barnaby Palgrave. Barnaby's dad? Francis Palgrave. And you are? Tilly, your worship. Tilly bobbed a curtsy. I'm nicely. Thank you, sir. Here, governor. Yeah, governor. 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 Here, governor. Tuffin changed his tone to a wheedling whine. I'm losing money all the while. We're stuck in this here street. What's an honest working man to do then? You ain't the only one, mate. The driver of the other car leapt off his seat and came towards Francis, cap in hand. You can see the problem, your reverence. Hold your horse steady, my man, Francis said, taking the reins from Tilly. Lead him slowly forward when I give you a sign. Speaking softly to the agitated animal, he began stroking its neck until it grew calmer. Now, gradually, inch by inch, the two vehicles were eased apart with just the grazing of wheel hubs and a shower of wooden splinters. Once again, the crowd applauded. Crikey, Tilly said, impressed. That were a blooming miracle. Glowering, Bert took the reins from Francis. I'd have done it myself, given half a chance. Sure. Would you be the Albert Tuffin of Wapping, as indicated on the side of your cart? Francis took a leather-bound notebook from his pocket, extracting a pencil from its spine. What if I am? Francis wrote something in the book, closing it with a snap. I suggest you treat this poor animal with a bit of human kindness and respect if you want it to serve you well, Tuffin. I have your name noted and I won't hesitate to pass it on to the appropriate authorities if necessary. Do we have an understanding? I'm an honest man, Governor, plying an honest trade. So basically, Tilly should have waited for the Governor Francis, to arrive. Yeah. You cannot change my mind on that. Stupid Tilly. Yeah. Do we have an understanding? I'm an honest man, Governor, plying an honest trade. Tuffin leaned towards Tilly, scowling. Best keep out of me way. I don't forget easily. Good. You got an enemy, yes. You got yourself an enemy, Tilly. Very good. If he's the one who's gonna become one of the main villains in the end, I wouldn't be surprised. Tilly, Tilly, Tilly. Stupid idiot. Silly Tilly. Uh, nice. Okay. So, hawking and spitting in the gutter, he climbed back onto the driver's seat and flicked the reins. The horse shambled forward and the crowd began to disperse. Tilly made a move to leave, but Francis caught her by the hand. You haven't told me your full name, my dear. Tilly True, sir. You're hurt, Tilly, and you're chilled to the marrow. I'm fine, Your Honor. I'd best be on my way. You won't get far in that state. Come with me. My lodgings are nearby. Can he be trusted? Tilly backed away alarmed. Francis raised his hands and shook his head, laughing. Suddenly, he looked quite young, and to Tilly's surprise, quite good looking for a clergyman. No, please, it's quite respectable. My sister will be only too happy to attend to your injuries and give you a hot drink. You were very brave today, Tilly True. So you're trying to say that because she did this good deed, she's gonna get some place to stay at and like out of the cold, out of the rain, out of her wet clothes. So like, sure, okay, but it's still silly though. Silly tea. Hesitating for a moment, Tilly realized that she must look a complete fright. She didn't want to turn up at home in a state and risk giving her mom a funny turn. Alright, don't mind if I do, but just for a minute or two, mind. I still got a fair old walk home. Of course, Francis said, striding forward. I understand. Tilly had to trot to keep up with his long strides as he led the way along City Road, crossing Old Street and keeping on until they came to Bunbury Fields. The terrace of late Georgian town hall houses, their original white stucco, now grey and crumbling and the paintwork blistered and peeling, had been built overlooking the municipal graveyard. The small paned windows were opaque with cataracts of grime, staring blindly at the high wall of the cemetery. I have no understanding what is happening. Like, I cannot picture. Tilly couldn't help wondering if the 20-foot high wall was to keep the spirits of the dead from roaming into the world of the living or to keep the resurrection men from snatching the bodies. Realizing that Frances had sprinted up the steps to the front door of her house in the middle of the row, she quickened her pace. Taking a bunch of keys from his pocket, Frances opened the front door. Come along, Tilly. There was an unmistakable odor of boiled mutton and damp rot lingering in the hallway. Do you want to enter that house? I don't know. The carpet on the stairs was well worn and threadbare in places, and the banister handrail glowed with the patina of constant use. The Palgraves' lodgings were on the first floor, and Frances ushered Tilly into a sitting room at the front of the house, overlooking the burial ground. A fire burned into the grate, but the room was cheerless and shabbily furnished. It looked to Tilly as though the entire contents were a collection of other people's cast-offs, and the overall impression was brown, from the wallpaper hung with sepia tints to the faded velvet curtains that framed the windows. Frances, a young woman, jumped up from a sagging wingback chair by the fire, dropping her sewing on the floor. Her smile of welcome wavered when she saw Tilly and was replaced by a look of concern. Good heavens, who is this? Taking off his top hat, Francis set it down on a chair by the door and began methodically to peel off his kid gloves, one finger at a time. Kid gloves? No idea. Harriet, I want you to I want you to meet a very brave young woman. This is Tilly True, who, with no apparent thought for her own safety, that's what I'm trying to say. With no apparent thought for her own safety, stood up to a bully of a man who was ill-treating his poor horse. Tilly, this is my sister, Miss Palgrave. Tilly bobbed a curtsy, honored, I'm sure, ma'am. Honored, I'm sure, ma'am. No, please don't, Harriet said, smiling. The days are gone when I was Miss Palgrave of Palgrave Manor. Everyone except Francis calls me Hattie. Harriet is Hattie. Hattie? Hattie. 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 Tilly eyed her with growing suspicion. Toffs, Toffs didn't encourage servant girls to be familiar, and this young woman, although apparently living in straitened circumstances, was obviously a lady. I just come in to get warm, miss. I just come in to get warm, miss. I'll be leaving in a minute or two. Harriet's delicate brown eyebrows winged into two arcs. My dear girl, you're hurt, she said, touching the congealed blood on Tilly's forehead. You're going nowhere until I've cleaned up that wound. There's blood on her back too, Francis said, frowning. It looks as though the poor girl has taken a terrible beating. Tilly backed away. Mind your own business. Leave her alone, Francis. You're not in the pulpit now. What's the pulpit? Harriet slipped her hand through Tilly's arm. Come with me, Tilly. We'll clean you up and find you something dry to wear. And then I'm going. Of course. And I'll loan you a coat and an umbrella. Something truly awful must have happened to make you leave home without so much as a shawl. But we won't ask questions, will we, Francis? Francis nodded. If you can manage on your own, Harriet, I'll finish what I set out to do. Of course I can manage. I'm not entirely useless. That's not what I meant, and you know it. Yes, you did. You know you did. It isn't my fault that I don't know how to keep house. This isn't the time or place to discuss our private business, Harriet. Exactly. Don't fucking discuss your family troubles in front of strangers. Family business needs to stay in the family, not to be discussed with non-family members. That's it. Bottom line. Harriet. Giving her a reproachful glance, Francis picked up his hat and gloves. Goodbye, Tilly. It was a privilege to meet someone as plucky as you. Placing his top hat on his head at a precise angle, he left the room. There was a moment's embarrassed silence as they listened to his retreating footsteps on the stairs. Harriet was the first to recover. We get along very well, really, she said, blushing. It's just that things have been difficult lately. I don't care. Just wash my wounds and give me whatever, dry clothes and whatnot, and an umbrella and whatever. Let me leave. And a hot drink I was promised, I think. And let me leave. I don't want to hear your story. Unnecessary. Maybe I'd better go. Tilly glanced longingly at the door. She felt uncomfortable here with these toffs. They seemed nice enough, but there was obviously something wrong, and Tilly had enough problems of her own. Yeah. We haven't always lived like this, Harriet said, seeming to pick up on Tilly's thoughts. Things have been difficult since our father died. Our eldest brother inherited the estate, and Francis was granted a living in the East End. That is while we are waiting to go to India. India, miss? My brother hopes one day soon to teach in a missionary school. This is just temporary lodging until the present incumbent moves out of the vicarage. Yes, miss, I'm sorry. But here I am going on about my own troubles when you've obviously had a dreadful experience. Exactly. We must get you fixed up. I'm afraid we'll have to go down to the basement and beg our landlady, Mrs. Mrs. Henge, 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 for some hot water. She's a frightful dragon, and I hate to admit it, but she scares me to death. Come along, Tilly. Half an hour later, Tilly was back in the Palgrave's sitting room, seated by the fire, drinking a cup of hot cocoa laced with sugar. Good. Her injuries had been cleaned and treated with salve, and Harriet had insisted on lending her a clean blouse and skirt, both of which were much washed and darned in places, but were of considerably better quality than the cheap clothes provided by Mrs. Blessed. Good, okay. Till he had just finished answering Harriet's inevitable questions about how she had come to be in this sorry state. Yeah, that's truly terrible. Remember to pay her back, Tilly. You just have to. This is debt, just so you understand. That's truly terrible, Harriet said, shaking her head. We had dozens of servants when I lived at home in Palgrave Manor, but they were treated like human beings. So if you don't mind me asking, why couldn't you stay in your old home? Yeah, okay. Harriet pulled a face. My sister-in-law, Letitia? I think Letitia, yeah. Letitia is not the easiest person to get on with, and with her ever increasing brood of daughters, I suppose the house was getting a little crowded. How many? Harriet opened her eyes wide. I'm sorry? How many nipples? I mean, we only got a 2 up and 2 down house, and I'm one of 10. Though 2 little ones didn't last long, poor little beggars. And Molly went and married. Molly went and married Artie when she was 15. She's going to live in Poplar now, so that gives us a bit more room. Oh my goodness, Tilly, you make me feel ashamed of myself. Francis is always saying that I should think before I speak. I am so sorry. Don't be, Tilly said. Living under your means. Yes. The Tilly's family knows how to live under their means. You don't, Miss Harriet. Ah, don't be, Tilly said, setting the empty mug down on the hearth. The hearth? There's always someone better off than you and someone worse off too. True, true. I ain't always going to be poor. I'm merely mine up to that. Okay. It's like the Naruto's Hokage dialogue, I guess. I admire your spirit, I really do, and you must keep the clothes. Ta, but I don't need charity, Tilly said, getting to her feet. I said I'd bring him back, and I will. Very well. Then I insist on lending you a coat and a hat and an umbrella too. You'll be no good to anyone if you catch your death of cold on the way home. For a moment, Tilly was going to refuse, but recognizing a will as strong as her own and hearing the rain slashing against the window panes, she decided not to waste time arguing. Harriet hurried into the adjoining room, returning with a navy merino coat, a velour hat, and a large black umbrella. Good. Have you got the cab fare, Tilly? Blimey, miss, I ain't never been in a hired cab in me whole life. Well, money for the omnibus then? Harriet picked up her purse and Bruh, Harriet, why are you doing so much? Why? Suspicious. Yeah, she's just good, I guess. Harriet picked up her purse and taking out some coins, she pressed them into Tilly's hand. I won't hear of you walking all that way in the pouring rain. Take it, just to please me. Just to please Harriet, Tilly took the omnibus as far as the monument and walked the rest of the way, saving a couple of pennies. At 3 o'clock on a wet January afternoon, it was almost dark and the costermongers' barrows in Petticoat Lane, illuminated by naphtha flares, made little islands of light and colour. Wading ankle deep through discarded vegetable matter floating in the gutters, mixed with straw and horse dung, Tilly pushed her way through the jostling crowds. Catching the eye of a saucy young coster selling fruit, she bought an apple from him, patted his cheeky comments, and went on her way, munching the sweet fruit. Closing her nostrils to the odor of unwashed human bodies, the stench of outdoor privies, and the noxious smells from the manufactories that hung in a pall over the city, Tilly dodged down familiar side streets and alleyways, making her way home. By the time she reached Red Dragon Passage, not far from the notorious Hanbury Street, the scene less than 10 years ago of one of the Ripper's horrific murders. The Ripper is the guy who killed the hammer, right? I don't remember. Tilly was soaked to the skin and chilled to the bone. Although the lamplighters were busy in the main streets, is the Ripper the villain here? Could be cool. Tilly versus Ripper. She's gonna die. Although the lamplighters were busy in the main streets, Red Dragon Passage was neither rich enough nor important enough to warrant investment by the Gaslight and Coke Company. Stumbling over uneven cobblestones in the darkness, Tilly stifled a scream as a black shape shot out of an overflowing drain and scuttled across her feet. The sewer rats in the East End were as big as cats and twice as vicious. If you came across one in the privy, you didn't corner the brute. You didn't corner the brute. Tales of people attacked and dying from rat bites were legendary. Shuddering, Tilly hurried on, past unlit windows plastered over with old newspapers, and others that sent out flickering ghosts of light from a single candle. The dismal howling of a dog was drowned by the rumbling thunder of a steam train leaving Liverpool Street Station. The terraced houses in Red Dragon Passage had been built over 50 years ago to house the navvies who flooded into the area to construct the railway system. Old tenements and warehouses had been razed to the ground and red brick terraces thrown together with little thought to comfort or beauty. The two up and two down dwellings lined a street that was barely wide enough to take a handcart. If the residents had so wished, they could have leaned out of the upstairs windows and linked hands with someone in the house opposite. Daylight rarely penetrated as far as the cobbled road surface. The door of number 3 Red Dragon Passage was unlocked, as always, and Tilly let herself into the living room, which opened directly off the street. The low ceiling was smoke blackened, and a coal fire spluttering half heartedly in the grate was the only source of light. Two little girls sitting cross legged on the stone floor were peeling potatoes and dropping them into a soot encrusted iron saucepan. They turned their heads as Tilly entered the room, and a small, skinny woman erupted from the scullery, clutching a saucepan in her hand. "Who's that?" "Ma, it's me, Tilly." "Tilly? Tilly!" Exclamation, not question mark. The girls scrambled to their feet, sending a shower of potato peelings across the floor, hurling themselves at Tilly, demanding to know if she had brought anything for them. "You got the apple?" She ate the apple. "Lizzie, Winnie, let me get me breath," Tilly said, laughing and ruffling their hair. "You're wet," Winnie said, pulling away. "You'll catch cold." Nellie True put the saucepan down on the table and stood arms akimbo. She wasn't smiling. "Don't you dare tell me you lost your job, Tilly. I got laid off from the mill, and your dad's been sick this past 3 weeks with his chest. The only money coming into the house is the pittance what Emily earns at the laundry and coppers what the young uns make selling matches outside the station." Glancing around the room, even allowing for the deep shadows, Tilly could see that the walls were bare of the pictures that had hung there in better days. The brass clock had gone from the mantelpiece, as had the china spill jar and the pair of plaster dogs that Dad had bought on a rare outing to a fair in the Royal Victoria Gardens. It didn't take a genius to work out that everything had been popped at the pawn shop. PAWN pawn. Come on, dirty-minded idiots. This wasn't a good moment to break bad news. "I got a better offer." Lies. Tilly True. Sure. "I got a better offer," Tilly said, taking off her hat. "I just come to visit before I take up my new position." Winnie, just 9 years old, looked up at her with big admiring eyes. "You going to work for the Queen at the palace?" Tilly grinned, giving Winnie's hair a playful tug. "Not quite, Winnie. She's got no job." Nellie eyed her suspiciously. "Are you telling the truth, Tilly?" "I never knew you come home just to be sociable. And if it comes to that, where did you get them new duds?" Nellie fingered the cloth of Harriet's coat, nodding in approval. "That's pure merino, or I'm a Dutchwoman." "That's pure merino, or I'm a Dutchwoman. Or I'm a Dutchwoman." Miss Harriet gave it me on account of me getting caught in a shower. She's a real lady, ma. Her brother is a vicar. Vicar. Real respectable. Hmm. Respectable won't put food on the table. How much are they going to pay you? Thrusting her hand in her pocket, Tilly brought out the remainder of her bus fare and dropped the pennies on the table. It ain't had me wages yet, but that's a bit on account. It'll buy us a bit of supper. Poking the coins with her forefinger, Nellie counted them, frowning. I'll send Jim and Dan when they get back from the station. This won't buy much, so let's hope they've had a bit of luck today. You girls get so like it's every day, right? Yeah, everyday wages every day. No savings, I guess. Fuck. You girls get back to peeling them spuds and get them on the fire, or we'll be having them for breakfast. I'll help you, Tilly said. Fetch another knife, Lizzie, and we'll get it done double quick. So where's this new position then? Demanded Nellie, slumping down on a bentwood chair at the table. And why did you give up a good job working for that nice Mrs. Blessing? Nice Mrs. Blessing. I hope you're telling me the truth, my girl. Taking the knife from Lizzie, Tilly squatted down on her haunches to help finish off the potatoes. Why would I lie, Mom? You'll soon find me out like you always did. It's like such a bad thing to say. Such gaslighting. I hate gaslighting. You and Molly was a pair of little thinkers when you were small. Nellie's lined face cracked into a smile. She's expecting again, by the way. That'll be her third since she and Artie moved to Poplar. He's got a job in a ship's chandlers. 3 nippers and her a year younger than me. Tilly dropped a potato into a pan of cold water. Poor Molly. Her life was over, and that was for sure. Why? Why though? She's got 3 kids, her husband's got a good job. They've got a good home, I suppose, in Poplar. You're saying? Her life was over, and that was for sure. Molly's way better than you. She's a year younger than you? Three nippers nippers are kids, right? And her a year younger than me. My god, she's the loser here and she doesn't even realize it. Molly's the goat, obviously. Like, life was over, she said. What the fuck? Your mom has 10 kids. Oh, she's looking at it from a poverty mindset. But her husband's got a job, right? I think she's better than you, though. I had you when I was 15 and won almost every year after that, Nellie said, patting her flat chest with a bony hand. Hell yeah. And I never regretted it. Not even when the good Lord saw fit to take 2 of my babies afore they'd even cut a tooth. I know, Ma, but I don't want my life to end up like that. I want more. More? What? What do you mean more? What? What's more? What? Oh, lame. Oh. Feminist. Oh, man. Ugh. Feminist. Damn it. I don't want to read it further. It's going to be painful. Feminists are insufferable. We gotta keep reading. Pages left. It's almost done. Like chapter 1. Okay, I want more. Nelly sniffed and tut-tutted. Exactly. You always had big ideas about your station, my girl. I'm just glad that Molly settled. Yes, exactly. Mom's got the correct mindset as well. And Emily? Tilly looked to Lizzie for an answer, but Lizzie pulled a face. Emily is stepping out with a gentleman, Ellie said, puffing out her chest. I expect she'll be next up the aisle. Tilly's the useless one. Tilly frowned. She's only 14. Nearly 15, and a gentleman has a good business and his own house in Duxfoot Lane, Wapping. Good business, own house. Taylor is losing the battle and she doesn't even know it. Losing the race. Let's not say battle. The race, yeah, she's losing. Horribly. He's old. Whispered Lizzie. Yes, exactly. Oh my god. Of course, he's old, yeah. That's how you get this. You need experience. An 18-year-old should not marry another 18-year-old. The guy's not there yet. If he's there, right then, that's okay, but that's like a minority. So, feminist, man. I'm hating this. Okay. And he's got grown-up kids, added Vinny. So, and you keep your smart remarks to yourselves, Nelly said, and get them spuds onto boy. He's got other kids. So, like, he has a divorce. He's the divorcee, right? I suppose, like, let's assume the best for this kid. Even if he's not divorced, is like with he did not marry the woman and got her impregnated and got kids with them, whatever. Is he supporting the kids as well? And he's trying to marry her. If he's able to support everyone, what's the problem? Fucking hell. A thud above their heads and the sound of coughing made Nelly jump to her feet. That'll be your dad waking up. I'll make a pot of tea. I dare say you could do with a cup, Tilly. Before Tilly could answer, the front door opened and Emily walked into the room. She stopped dead when she saw Tilly, her pretty face alight with astonishment and delight. Tilly! With a cocking surprise. What a cocking surprise! She flung her arms around her sister, laughing and crying all at the same time. You're a sight for sore eyes, Emmy, and that's the truth. Truth? Sure. I don't like Tilly speaking about the truth. Nah. Sorry. Tilly said, holding her at arm's length. You've grown up since I last saw you, and you've come just at the right moment. Bertie's just proposed to me, and I've said yes. Yes, good. Nelly clapped her hands. No, that's wonderful. Where is he? Just seen to his horse, Emily said, clutching Tilly's arm. I'm so lucky, Tilly. My Bertie's the kindest, most generous man in the whole world. You'll love him. I'm sure Tilly stopped dead, her mouth open. Filling the doorway with his huge bulk was the same Carter who earlier that day had been so cruel to his horse. Albert Tuffin strode into the room on a gust of smoke-laden air. Bloody hell, he said, glaring at Tilly. Look who it ain't. Whew. Oh, he's got a bit of an anger problem. Huh. Alright. He's gonna hit Emily as well, just like the horse, then no, definitely not. He's gonna control that anger. But all in all, I'm excited as to where the story will go. I'm already hating on Tilly. She's a feminist. I don't like her. She's dumb. Just nah. Tilly's getting some -2 right now. -2 points. She's got a long way to go. Anyway, let's see what happens.